His fist weakly hit the door and her breath froze as the faint cry of an infant mixed with the slow patter of dripping blood. Mara stood still, hand hovering above the knob, heart pounding too loud for the quiet house. The knock came again, softer, like someone slipping away. She opened the door before she could think. A man leaned forward and nearly fell on top of her. She caught him by the shoulders. A newborn lay bundled in his arm, its face tight and red from the cold. "Help," he whispered. His voice was raw. She stared at the blood soaking through his shirt. "Who are you?" "Doesn't matter. Take her. You're hurt. Figure that out later. Take her." The baby whimpered, a thin, tired sound. Mara swallowed and reached for the child. "Tell me what happened." "Bad people." His knees buckled and she dragged him inside, the baby pressed to her chest. She kicked the door shut. "Stay with me," she said. "Don't fall." "Trying." He groaned and grabbed his side. "You got a name?" "Later. I need something to call you." "Call me alive." She laid him on the floor and pressed a cloth to his wound. He hissed in pain. "You're bleeding too fast," she said. "You'll pass out." "Already did once." "Why bring the baby to me?" "Didn't have anywhere else." "That's not an answer." "I don't have answers." "Just her." Mara looked at the child. No one had depended on her in years. His eyes fluttered. "Don't sleep," she said. "Look at me." "Trying." "Tell me your name." "Later." "Tell me now." "Just keep her safe," he whispered. Mara checked the baby's breathing. "She's alive." "Good. Then do what you want with me." "I'm not letting you die." "You might not stop it." She pressed harder. Blood seeped around her fingers. "You're not dying here." "You talk like you can stop everything." "I can try." He coughed and stared at her like he was studying her face. "You alone?" "Yes." "Good. Fewer targets." "Targets?" "Later." He looked at the baby. "Protect her." "You're scaring me," Mara said. "Good. Means you'll fight." She felt anger flare. "Don't tell me what I'll do." "Then prove it." She clenched her jaw. "What got you hurt?" "Didn't say hurt." "Didn't have to." He almost smiled. "Smart woman. Tell me the truth." "Truth is messy." "So am I." His eyes closed too long. "Don't," she said. "Open them." He did, barely. "If I die, don't let them find her." "Who?" "People who crush the weak." Mara felt a cold weight settle in her chest. She held the baby tighter, feeling its tiny heartbeat. "I'll keep her safe," she said before thinking. His shoulders eased. "Knew you would." She didn't know why the promise came. It felt older than him. "Your name?" she asked again. He exhaled like it hurt. "Later." His head dropped. Mara leaned closer, pulse racing as the baby squirmed. "Stay with me. Don't you die on my floor." Outside, wind rattled the porch boards. Inside, the outlaw slipped further away, and something old inside Mara stirred awake. She didn't know him. She didn't know the child. But the knock had come for her, and nothing would stay the same. She shifted the baby in her arms and steadied her breath. The lamp flickered, throwing a thin glow across the man's pale face. She whispered, "Why my door?" although he seemed past hearing. She knelt beside him again and touched his forehead. "Don't make me do this alone," she murmured. The baby let out a soft cry, and Mara felt it tug at something tender she had buried long ago. She held the child close and whispered, "I've got you. Both of you, for now." The night pressed against the windows as if waiting for her choice, and Mara felt the weight of it settle there. As the door slammed shut behind them, her hands still under his shoulders, Mara feels his weight dropping fast. She drags him across the floor, boots scraping. "Stay with me," she says. "Trying," he mutters. "You're bleeding too much." "Not news." His head drops to her arm. The baby whimpers against her chest. "Tell me where you're hit," she says. "Everywhere." "Be serious." "I am." She lowers him beside the couch. He tries to sit but falls back. "Don't let me die here," he whispers. "Not on some stranger's floor." "You came to my door," she says. "Stranger enough." "Stop talking." "If I stop, I won't start again." She checks his side. Blood leaks slow but steady. "How long were you out there?" "Long enough to see things." "Real things?" "Didn't feel real." The baby fusses louder. Mara sets her in the basket by the stove and returns. "Look at me," she says. He opens his eyes halfway. "Name," she says. "You owe me that." "You'll hate it." "Try me." "Jonas." She stiffens. "That name means something?" he asks. "No," she lies. He watches her closely. "You look like someone who lost things." "You don't know me." Hurts look the same. She presses cloth to his wound. He jerks. "Keep me awake," he says. "Talk." "About what?" "Anything." "I don't talk much." "Tonight you do." She hesitates. "I used to live with someone." "Used to?" "He died." "Sickness?" "Yes." "What was he like?" "Quiet." "Thought I could fix anything." "Could you?" No. Jonas nods weakly. "We all lose more than we fix." She looks away. "Who's after you?" "People with badges." "Sheriff?" "Higher." "Governor?" He doesn't answer. Fear crawls up her spine. "Why the baby?" "Not mine." "Whose then?" "Someone they shouldn't have touched." "You stole her." "Saved her." "Same thing to them." "That's why I can't die here." "What do they want with her?" "Power." "She's a baby." "Power starts small." His breath shakes and his eyes roll back. "Jonas," she snaps. "Open your eyes." He doesn't. She slaps his cheek lightly. "Don't you dare." He gasps and blinks. "Still here." "Barely." "Means you're doing the job." "What job?" "Keeping me alive." She shakes her head. "I shouldn't be doing this." "But you are." "Only because of the child." "And because you don't turn away." She ignores that. The house creaks. Jonas shivers. She covers him with a blanket. "Why my house?" she asks. "Because you opened the door." "You knocked on it." "Still counts." She studies him. "Can you stand?" "Maybe." She lifts him. He groans but rises an inch. Again, he mutters. She guides him onto the couch. He sinks into it, shaking. "Mara," he whispers. "Don't let me die here." She sits beside him, hand on his chest to feel it rise. "I won't," she says, unsure. The baby stirs, small and restless. Jonas fades, eyes fluttering. "Stay awake," she whispers. "Stay with me." She crouched beneath the window with the outlaw's blood drying on her palms, her breath tight and shallow. The house felt smaller than ever, as if the walls leaned in to listen. She pressed her back against the cool floorboards and tried to steady her hands. The outlaw lay behind her near the wood stove, half conscious, mumbling through clenched teeth while the baby slept against his chest. Keep quiet, she whispered. I'm trying, he muttered. She lifted herself just enough to peek through the window. Headlights crawled along the distant dirt road, slow and cautious, as if the driver already knew what waited at the end of it. She lowered herself again, heart thudding in her ears. They looking for you? She asked. Maybe, he said. Maybe not. But someone's coming. She wiped her palms on her skirt, smearing the blood deeper into the fabric. If they see the truck outside, they'll knock. They always knock, he said. Then they start asking questions. The baby stirred. She reached over, lifted him carefully, and held him against her shoulder. I can hide you in the storm cellar, she said. Both of you. Hard to hide a trail of blood, he said. They'll find it. Then stay quiet, she said. Let me handle whoever it is. He gave a faint laugh. You sure you can? No, she said. But I'm the only one not bleeding. The headlights grew brighter, inching closer. She waited for the sound of gravel shifting under tires. The road always announced visitors long before they arrived, but tonight the sound felt heavier, like the land itself was warning her. The outlaw pushed himself upright. You don't have to do this. I know, she said. But you're in my house. And that baby doesn't deserve what's chasing you. He touched the baby's tiny hand. Neither do you. She moved to the back room, grabbed an old quilt, and returned to cover him. If the sheriff sent someone, they'll try to scare me, she said. If it's someone else, they'll try something worse. He leaned his head back, eyes drifting shut. I can still stand if I need to. You can barely breathe, she said. The truck finally reached the yard. Its engine idled with a low growl. She stayed beneath the window and listened. No door opened. No footsteps approached. The engine just hummed. What are they doing? She whispered. Watching, he said. Why? Because people like that don't rush. They want you to feel them there. The baby let out a soft cry. She rocked him gently, sweat forming at her temples. If they knock, you don't make a sound. I know, he said. She crawled to the far window and looked toward the truck. She couldn't make out the driver's face, just his shape behind the windshield. The truck light swept across her yard, catching the broken fence, the leaning barn, the well with the rusted pulley. She whispered, Go away. The truck didn't move. Minutes passed. She felt her fear settling into her bones. The outlaw watched her. They'll leave, he said. You don't know that. I've seen men like that. But the truck didn't leave. It stayed exactly where it was, humming like a warning. She crawled back to the outlaw and lowered her voice. If they try the door, I'll talk to them. You stay out of sight. You don't owe me this, he said. I know, she whispered. But someone's coming down the road, and it's too late to pretend they're not. She steadied herself before speaking. Quietly. His eyes opened, locking onto hers without trust or apology. She froze beside the cot, hands still on the edge, feeling the room press in. He blinked, struggling to place himself. You kept me alive, he said. For now, she answered. You remember where you are? He looked toward the low ceiling. A house. My house, she said. You walked in bleeding. You dragged me, he murmured. Close enough. The baby stirred in the quilt by her feet. His gaze dropped. Is he hungry? You tell me, she said. It's your child. I never said that. You never said anything. She lifted the baby, shifting him against her shoulder. He watched with a guarded tension. Whose child is this? She asked. He swallowed hard. Someone who needed him gone. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She paced near the stove. You show up dying on my porch with a newborn and expect me not to ask questions? Questions get people hurt. So do secrets. He shifted in the cot, pain carving lines across his face. If I tell you too much, you'll wish I hadn't. Try me, she said. Who's after you? People with power. That's vague. It's all I can risk. She set the baby down again, the soft quilt swallowing his small form. You talk like you owe loyalty to someone. Maybe I do. Even now? He closed his eyes, breathing shallowly. Loyalty doesn't die just because you're bleeding. Sometimes it should. He opened his eyes again. You sound like someone who lost faith a long time ago. Maybe I did, she said. Loss has a way of staying. He studied her face. You've buried someone. Everyone here has buried someone. But yours still sits in the room with you, he said. She stiffened. Don't pretend you can read me. I'm not pretending. The baby let out a sharp cry that echoed through the room. She picked him up quickly, holding him close. You care for him, the outlaw said. That's not the same as wanting him, she replied. Why does he cry like that? He knows something's wrong. Babies don't know anything. They know fear, she said. He feels yours. She rocked the baby, her breath trembling. Tell me who his mother is. I can't. Can't, or won't? Both. She stared at him. Did you take him from her? No, he said. I saved him. From what? From the life he was born into. His tone shifted, darker. From the people who think blood decides everything. What does that mean? It means he wasn't meant to survive the night I found him. She held the baby tighter. Why bring him to me? Because you're the only one who might keep him safe, he said. You don't even know my name. I don't need your name, he said. I saw your face when you opened the door. You don't run from the broken. She looked away, throat tight. You shouldn't have come here. Maybe not, he said. But you didn't send me back into the dark. She sat beside him, baby in her arms. Tell me what you want from me. He coughed, voice thin. A chance to make something right. For who? For the child, he whispered. And maybe for you too. She held her breath, waiting. The sheriff's fist hit the same door where the outlaw collapsed, the wood shuddering under the force. She stood in the center of the room, heart caught high in her throat, knowing the outlaw was pressed behind the storage room door with the baby wrapped tight. She wiped her palms on her skirt and stepped toward the front, forcing her breath to steady. The sheriff hit the door again, slower this time, like he already knew what waited on the other side. She opened it before he could knock a third time. He stood on her porch with his hat pulled low and his badge dull in the morning light. You took your time, he said. I was sleeping, she answered. You don't sleep heavy. Maybe today I did. He leaned slightly, eyes sliding past her shoulder as if trying to see through the walls. You alone? Always, she said. He sniffed the air. Smells like blood. She swallowed hard. Does it? You tell me. She forced her gaze to stay steady. I butchered a chicken earlier. At dawn? I was hungry. He took one slow step forward. Mind if I come inside? I do, she said. I'm not dressed for company. Company isn't what I'm here for. His tone scraped along the doorway. A man was seen limping down this road last night. Carrying something. Looked like trouble. Then maybe you should keep riding. Maybe I should, he said, but my job says I shouldn't. She tightened her fingers around the doorframe. If I'd seen anything, I'd tell you. You sure about that? Yes. His eyes narrowed as if he heard something inside, maybe the faintest rustle of quilt. She stepped forward, blocking his view. What do you want, Sheriff? A name, he said. The one that man carries. I don't have any names for you. Funny thing is, he murmured, he was heading straight toward your place. People walk past here all the time. Not bleeding. Something sharp flickered behind his stare, something that said he already suspected more than he let on. "You lying to me?" She felt her chest tighten. "No, you always were a bad liar," he said quietly. She blinked at him. "You don't know me like that." "I know you lost your husband and you don't trust no one," he said. "I know you jump at shadows but let strangers in when you shouldn't." Her breath hitched at the edge of memory. "Sheriff, if you came here to drag up my past, you can leave." "Your past is why I'm here," he said. "Bad things cling to certain houses." Her voice trembled. "There's nothing here." "We'll see." He tried to step inside but she blocked him again, her shoulders tight. "You need a warrant." "I need cooperation." "You won't get it." He studied her face for a long moment, reading the edges of her fear. "Something's wrong," he said softly. "You're shaking." "It's cold," she replied. "Inside?" "Yes." He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a near whisper. "You hiding someone?" "No, hiding something?" "No, lady," he said, "I can hear your heart beating through the wood." She held her ground. "Leave." "Tell me one thing first," he said. "If a man showed up here bleeding, would you help him?" She paused, knowing any answer could betray her. "Depends on the man." "What if he was dangerous?" "Everyone is dangerous when cornered." He tipped his head, watching her like she was a locked box he was close to opening. "I hope you know what you're doing." "I do." "Because the man I'm hunting," he said, "he leaves ruin behind." "Then you should catch him before he reaches someone else," she said. "Maybe I already have," the sheriff replied. She held his stare, refusing to flinch. He finally stepped back from the door. "I'll come by again," he said. "Soon." "Don't bother." "I always bother when blood hits my roads." She shut the door before he could finish his next word, locking it. The outlaw exhaled shakily from the storage room as she leaned against the wall, her pulse still racing. "What did he want?" he whispered. "Your name," she said. "And mine, too." She turned from the door after the sheriff left, her heart still pounding inside her ribs. The room felt tight, holding the fear she tried to swallow. The outlaw watched her from the storage room doorway, his face pale but sharper now. He stepped out slowly, one hand on the wall to steady himself as he moved. She crossed her arms, trying to hide the shake in her fingers. He stared at her like he was searching for something he hoped not to find. She broke the silence first, because she couldn't bear the weight of his gaze. She said, "Tell me why he knows your name." He lowered himself to a chair and winced as his ribs protested every breath. He said, "Because I wasn't supposed to walk away from the people he works for." She watched him closely, waiting for the lies to show in his expression. She asked, "What did you do?" He rubbed his jaw like he was trying to scrub away the memory before speaking. He said, "I saw something I shouldn't have, and they wanted me gone before dawn." She felt the floor tilt slightly beneath her feet, sensing the truth sliding open. She whispered, "What does that have to do with the child?" He looked toward the storage room where the baby slept, his shoulders sinking. He said, "He's connected to them." More than I understood at first. She felt a cold shock move through her body at those words. She asked, "Why bring him here?" He said, "Because you're the only one I trusted not to hand him over." She took a step back, heat rising at the idea he had chosen her for something so heavy. She said, "You don't know me." He answered, "I know enough. I know loss lives in you the way hunger lives in wolves." She swallowed hard, anger and understanding twisting inside her. She said, "Don't talk like you've seen my life." He leaned forward, breath tight. "I see more than you think." She stepped toward him, feeling the house shift, feeling shadows swell in the corners like they were listening. She asked, "What else aren't you telling me?" He looked away as if something in the air changed, something dark brushing close. He said, "I didn't plan to live through tonight." "That's the part you should know." She froze, breath catching as she tried to understand what he meant. She whispered, "You came here to die?" He nodded once, the smallest movement. better than dying in their hands. She felt anger rise, sharp and bitter. "And you plan to leave the child with me?" he said. "You're stronger than you think. I saw it the moment you opened the door." She shook her head, stepping away from him, wanting space to breathe. She said, "You don't get to decide that." He pushed himself to his feet but staggered, forcing her to catch him by the arm. She steadied him, feeling his weight, feeling the nearness of something unspoken. He whispered, "I didn't mean for you to carry any of this." She held his arm and felt the house breathe around them, as if listening closely. She said, "You brought danger here, but you also brought a truth I can't ignore." He lowered his head, exhausted and unsure, waiting for her next words like they mattered greatly. She whispered, "I won't hand you over, not tonight, not while the child needs safety." He breathed out slowly, relief mixing with doubt, knowing he gave her reasons to fear him. She moved him to the chair again, keeping her voice steady even as thoughts crowded her mind. She said, "You'll tell me more tomorrow, and you'll tell me the part you're hiding." He nodded, accepting her terms, and the room settled around them, shadows stretching softly while the child slept in quiet trust near the door that night. She faced him with the same fire that had carried her through the sheriff's questions, though her hands still trembled. The argument had begun the moment she told him to stay down, and now it sparked like flint in the dim room. He tried pushing himself upright on the cot, jaw set, breath short, anger fighting weakness. She watched him sway and watched him lose. When he fell back again, the boards beneath him shook. "You can't fight like this," she said. "I don't need to be pretty to shoot," he replied. "You need to be alive." "I've been alive long enough." She stepped closer. "You're not walking to that door." He looked at her with something between pride and shame. "They're coming for me. I won't hide behind you." "You're not hiding," she said. "You're bleeding." He tried again to rise and failed. His breath came out in a thin rasp that scared her more than the writers outside. "Let me stand," he muttered. "No. You can't stop me. I already have." He glared but the heat faded. "Give me the rifle." She didn't move. "Give it," he said again. "You'll fall before you fire." "I said give it." Something old rose in her chest, shaped by nights she didn't talk about. "This is my house," she said. "My fight if I choose it." He blinked. "They're here for me. They're here for whoever shelters you. That makes me part of it." The baby stirred in the other room, barely a sound. He closed his eyes. "I should never have come here." "You didn't plan to," she said. "You collapsed on my porch. I shouldn't have lived through the night. That's not your choice anymore." Outside, hooves scraped the dry earth. A voice called out, steady and cold, asking for the man they wanted. She moved first. She grabbed the rifle from the wall and checked the chamber. He watched with fear and helpless admiration. "Don't," he whispered. She stepped toward the window, watching shapes move beyond the yard. They weren't hiding. They believed this house was theirs. He pushed himself up again, trying to crawl. She blocked him with her foot. "Stay," she said. "If you die for me." "I'm not planning to die," she said. "I'm planning to make them regret coming." The door shook under the first blow. She raised the rifle, heart steadying. He dragged himself toward the wall, reaching for a pistol beneath a blanket. She didn't stop him. The second blow split the doorframe. Two men burst through, loud and sure. She fired before the first finished lifting his gun. The crack tore through the room. The man dropped. The second froze. The man on the cot fired his pistol, the shot clumsy but true. The second fell against the broken door. Silence followed, thick and stunned. She stood without moving, the rifle still raised. He breathed in sharp, painful pulls. The baby made a soft cooing sound, untouched by the violence. She lowered the rifle. "More will come," he said. "I know. You still want me here?" She looked at him, at the bodies in the doorway, at the dust settling. "I didn't choose this," she said. But I won't run from it. He let his head fall back. Then we're in it together. The room smelled of gunpowder and old wood, a mix that settled into her lungs and refused to leave. She felt the weight of what they had done, not as guilt but as a warning that life had shifted in a way she couldn't undo. He watched her with a quiet understanding, the kind that forms only in the heat of danger. Outside, the wind moved through the dead grass like someone walking slow circles around the house, waiting to see what would happen next. They listened. She didn't answer. The house had made the promise for her. She scrubbed the blood from the floorboards with a rag that had once been white, her movements tight and steady. She kept her eyes on the grain of the wood, not on the man watching her from the cot. The smell of gunpowder still clung to the air, a faint reminder of the men who had broken in and failed. She did not want to look at him, not yet, not when her hands still shook with the memory of pulling the trigger. He shifted, wincing, and she heard him draw a slow breath before speaking. "You don't have to clean it," he said. "I'm not leaving it there," she answered. "It wasn't your mess. It happened in my house." He tried to sit straighter. "You saved my life. You were ruining my floor." He let out a small, pained laugh. "You're not afraid of me at all, are you? Should I be? Most people are. That's their problem." He watched her as she rinsed the rag in a bucket. "You don't even know who I am," he said. "I know enough." "No," he said quietly. "You don't." She paused but didn't turn. "If you're about to tell me some awful truth, spit it out." "It's my name," he said. "The one I didn't give you." "I figured as much. It's a name people whisper. A name tied to stories that never die." He waited. "My name is Calder Holt." She kept scrubbing for a moment longer before finally standing. She faced him, the rag dripping, her voice calm. "All right. That's all?" he asked. "You expected me to fall apart?" "Most do." "I'm not most." "You've heard the stories." "I've heard stories about lots of men. But mine are true," he said. "Some of mine are too," she replied. He blinked. "Yours? You think you're the only one with ghosts? You think danger never bothered to learn my address?" She stepped closer, her face steady. "Your name doesn't scare me. It doesn't change what's in front of me." "And what's that?" he whispered. "A man bleeding on my cot. A man who needed help. That's all." He swallowed. "People say I burned a family alive." "Did you?" "No, they say I robbed a church." "I did." "Fine." "They say I killed a sheriff." "I didn't." "They say you'll bring trouble to anyone who shelters you." "That one's true," he said. She let out a slow breath. "Trouble found me long before you did." The baby stirred in the next room, soft and calm, as if untouched by the darkness gathering around them. She set the rag aside and checked the doorframe where the wood had splintered. His eyes followed her. "You could still tell me to leave," he said. "If I wanted you gone, you'd be gone," she replied. "You're not afraid of what's coming." "I'm tired of being afraid of everything else." He lay back, studying her with something like respect. "You're stronger than you look." "So are rattlesnakes," she said. He smiled faintly. "Thank you. For not running." "I don't run," she said. "Not anymore." Outside, the wind pushed against the broken fence, carrying the scent of dust and storm on its breath, but she stood rooted, knowing dawn would demand choices she could no longer avoid. The lantern cast a soft ring of light as she led him down the narrow path behind the house, moving slow so he could keep up on his wounded leg. The grass brushed her skirt and the night carried a heavy stillness that pressed close. He limped beside her, breathing hard but refusing to ask why she was guiding him into the dark. "Where are we going?" he asked. "You'll see. You're not planning to bury me out here. Not tonight." Comforting. She didn't smile. The cold settled deeper the farther they walked, and she felt the old path vibrating with memory underneath her boots. She lifted the lantern higher and the weeds parted to reveal a flat circle of stone ahead. She paused at the edge but did not step closer. "We're here," she said. He stared at the stone and the faint outline of something buried beneath it. "What is this?" "A well," she said. "Or it used to be. Looks sealed." "It is." "Why?" "Because of what happened down there." He looked at her face, sensing the tight pull in her voice. "Tell me." "I'm not sure I should." "You dragged me out here. So talk." She set the lantern on a low root and folded her arms. "When I was little, my brother and I played out here. The well was open then. Everyone warned us to stay away, said it was cursed. We didn't listen. He waited." She exhaled. "One day he leaned too far. The rope snapped. I heard him hit water." Calder swallowed. "You climbed in?" "I tried." "What happened?" "Something else was down there," she said. "Something that whispered his name." He felt the air tighten between them, as if the night itself leaned closer to listen. "You sure it wasn't the echo?" "I know an echo. Voices carry strange and deep places." "This one answered me," she said. "It knew things it shouldn't." He stepped near the stone, frowning into the dark. "What did you do?" "I ran." "Did they find him?" She shook her head. "Know the water?" "Was still." "And the voice?" "It stopped when the men came." He studied her expression, seeing the old grief rising like something she had tried to bury as deep as the well. "Why show me this?" he asked. "Because trouble keeps arriving at my door," she said. "And sometimes I think it started the day that well swallowed my brother." Calder exhaled slowly. "You believe something cursed this place." "I believe some wounds stay awake." He crouched as far as his wounds allowed, placing his hand on the rim of the sealed stone. The cold traveled up his arm, enough to make him flinch though he tried to hide it. "Feels wrong," he murmured. "Like it's listening." "It always did," she said. "Even after it was sealed." "Why hasn't anyone torn it down?" "Because people are cowards." "Including you?" "Including me," she answered. He turned toward her, the lantern's glow wrapping her in a soft gold that couldn't warm the fear flickering behind her eyes. "What do you think is in there?" he asked. "Memory," she said. "Pain." "Not a ghost?" "Ghosts are just stories." "So's my name, but folks still tremble." She stepped closer to him, the weeds rustling around her boots. "I'm not trembling," she said. "Not anymore." He watched her for a long moment, then nodded as if accepting something he couldn't name. "If that well ever opens again," he said, "I'll face whatever crawls out." "You can't promise that." "I can promise to try." The night held them there. Their breath frosted in the night air as they stood behind the house, lantern light pooling weakly around their boots. She could hear the footsteps coming from the dark curve of the road, steady and sure, like the people making them already knew the place by heart. Her fingers tightened around the lantern handle and she glanced at him, his shoulders bent in pain and fear he tried to hide. "You hear that?" she whispered. He nodded once, jaw set. "They found us." She felt the air shift, the same way it had the night of the well, years ago. Heavy. Waiting. "How many?" "Enough," he said. "And not the kind you talk your way past." The baby stirred in the sling across her chest, small noises that trembled against her ribs. She looked down at the child, then back at him. "They'll see the footprints," she murmured. "We should have wiped the ground." "They don't need footprints," he said. "They know I'd run to the edges. They know I'd find a place like this." His voice shook. It wasn't fear. It was something worse, resignation. She stepped closer, lantern between them. "You said you didn't plan to live through tonight." He exhaled hard. "Didn't plan on you." She blinked, not ready for how that landed. The footsteps grew louder. Gravel shifting. Metal brushing metal. Her skin prickled. Then what now? He stared past her, toward the dark road, breathing like each inhale scraped something broken. There's no way out for me, he rasped. Not unless I change the story they're coming to finish. She felt the shift before he said it, like the night held its breath. Marry me, he whispered. She froze. What? If you marry me, he said, forcing the words out, they can't take me the same way. They can't drag me off without going through you. The law's different for a married man. Even for me. And the men coming down that road still pretend to care about rules. His voice cracked. It's the only shield I've got left. Her throat tightened. You want a way out? Marry me. That's what you're saying. His eyes didn't leave hers. I'm saying I don't want to die on your land. I don't want them taking the child, calling him nothing but trouble from birth. I'm asking for a chance to stand here a little longer. The footsteps paused at the gate. Lanterns flickered through the trees. Male voices carried on the wind, low and confident. She felt the baby shift again and her chest ached with something sharp. You think I'm scared of your name, she said quietly. But I'm scared of theirs. He swallowed, every muscle tight. You say yes, they'll hesitate. They'll ask questions. It buys time. Maybe more. She looked at him, his torn shirt, the dried blood along his jaw, the weight of exhaustion pressing him down. He wasn't begging. He wasn't even expecting hope. Just bracing for the end. Her mind flashed through her childhood, the silence after her sister's scream, the way the sheriff's voice used to soften only when lying. No one had ever stepped between her and danger. Not once. She stepped closer. Say it again. He frowned. What? Ask me, she said. He tried to stand straighter, pain lancing through him. Will you marry me? Her breath came slow. Yes. He stared at her like he hadn't expected to live long enough to hear it. Why? Because, she whispered, I don't want to watch another person die at my door. And because the world already took too much from me. It won't take you. Or that child. The men at the gate rattled the latch. He reached for her hand. She gave it. His grip was weak but real. What now? She asked. We walk inside, he said. We hold to the story. And we pray they still believe in the rules they broke to get here. The gate creaked open. The preacher stood hunched over the warped table, his hands shaking as he tried to steady the thin book between them. He looked like a man dragged from sleep and forced into a storm he wanted no part of. Neither she nor the outlaw spoke, though their breaths rasped in the cold room, the baby's soft whimper the only sound brave enough to break the tension. Say the words, she whispered, though the preacher should have been the one urging them onward. Her heart beat too fast, her palms cold around the child she held close. The outlaw stood beside her, shoulders tense, breath uneven, eyes flickering toward the door every few seconds. I can't do this, the preacher muttered. Not like this. Not with lawmen on the road and blood on your clothes. You don't get to back out, she said, voice low but steady. You're the only one who'll do it. The outlaw's voice came out rough. Please. We just need it said. Quick. The preacher exhaled, shoulders sagging. Fine. But look at me when I speak. They lifted their eyes. Hers held fear and resolve tangled tight together. His held exhaustion deep enough to drown in. Do you take him, the preacher said, under threat or under heaven? She swallowed hard. I take him. The outlaw blinked like he couldn't believe her answer. Your turn, she said quietly. I take her, he said, voice barely above a breath. The preacher lifted the book higher, words tumbling out in a rush as if speed might save them. Then by what power I still hold, I bind you together. Before the last syllable faded, a fist pounded the outer door. The sound rattled the thin walls and made the preacher flinch. Open up, a voice barked. Sheriff's orders. The outlaw stiffened. She stepped in front of him without thinking, baby pressed tight to her chest. "Don't move," she whispered. The preacher hesitated at the door. "You sure about this?" "Open it," she said. "But no one steps past you unless I say." The preacher cracked the door. The sheriff stood outside with 2 deputies, lanterns throwing sharp light across his hard stare. "He's here," the sheriff said. "Tell me where." She stepped into view, chin lifted. "You don't get to demand anything in my house." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "Funny. Heard you just got yourself married." She felt the outlaw shift behind her. "You heard right," she said. "And unless you brought a gift, you can leave." The sheriff leaned forward. "You think a rushed vow changes anything?" "He's still coming with me." "He's not," she said, steady as a held blade. "Not tonight." The outlaw stepped beside her, legs shaking but voice firm. "We're bound now. You want me, you go through my wife." The deputies traded uneasy glances, waiting for the sheriff's lead. The sheriff stared long and hard before finally stepping back. "This isn't over," he warned. "Marriage or not." She didn't flinch. "It's over for tonight." The sheriff turned away, boots grinding the dirt as he and his men retreated toward the road. The preacher shut the door with a gasp of relief. Silence settled heavy. The outlaw let out a shaking breath. "You didn't have to stand up to him like that." "Yes," she said, "I did." He swallowed hard, eyes softening. "Then this marriage, it's real to you?" She looked at him, truly looked, and felt the weight of the night settle into something steadier. "It is now." Outside, the last echo of hooves faded into the dark, leaving the house wrapped in a strange calm. She shifted the baby in her arms and felt the child's small fingers grip her shirt as if anchoring her to the moment. The outlaw eased closer, his steps slow but certain, and the nearness of him stirred something she had buried for years. He whispered that he didn't deserve any of this, not her shield, not her name, not the quiet strength she offered without hesitation. She told him that deserving had nothing to do with survival. She told him that tonight they had chosen each other, and the choice meant they weren't alone anymore here. The preacher stood hunched over the warped table, his hands shaking as he tried to steady the thin book between them. He looked like a man dragged from sleep and forced into a storm he wanted no part of. Neither she nor the outlaw spoke, though their breaths rasped in the cold room, the baby's soft whimper the only sound brave enough to break the tension. "Say the words," she whispered, though the preacher should have been the one urging them onward. Her heart beat too fast, her palms cold around the child she held close. The outlaw stood beside her, shoulders tense, breath uneven, eyes flickering toward the door every few seconds. "I can't do this," the preacher muttered. "Not like this. Not with lawmen on the road and blood on your clothes." "You don't get to back out," she said, voice low but steady. "You're the only one who'll do it." The outlaw's voice came out rough. "Please. We just need it said. Quick." The preacher exhaled, shoulders sagging. "Fine. But look at me when I speak." They lifted their eyes. Hers held fear and resolve tangled tight together. His held exhaustion deep enough to drown in. "Do you take him," the preacher said, "under threat or under heaven?" She swallowed hard. "I take him." The outlaw blinked like he couldn't believe her answer. "Your turn," she said quietly. "I take her," he said, voice barely above a breath. The preacher lifted the book higher, words tumbling out in a rush as if speed might save them. "Then by what power I still hold, I bind you together." Before the last syllable faded, a fist pounded the outer door. The sound rattled the thin walls and made the preacher flinch. "Open up," a voice barked. "Sheriff's orders." The outlaw stiffened. She stepped in front of him without thinking, baby pressed tight to her chest. "Don't move," she whispered. The preacher hesitated at the door. "You sure about this?" "Open it," she said. "But no one steps past you unless I say." The preacher cracked the door. The sheriff stood outside with 2 deputies, lanterns throwing sharp light across his hard stare. "He's here," the sheriff said. "Tell me where." She stepped into view, chin lifted. "You don't get to demand anything in my house." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "Funny. Heard you just got yourself married." She felt the outlaw shift behind her. "You heard right," she said. "And unless you brought a gift, you can leave." The sheriff leaned forward. "You think a rushed vow changes anything?" "He's still coming with me." "He's not," she said, steady as a held blade. "Not tonight." The outlaw stepped beside her, legs shaking but voice firm. "We're bound now. You want me, you go through my wife." The deputies traded uneasy glances, waiting for the sheriff's lead. The sheriff stared long and hard before finally stepping back. "This isn't over," he warned. "Marriage or not." She didn't flinch. "It's over for tonight." The sheriff turned away, boots grinding the dirt as he and his men retreated toward the road. The preacher shut the door with a gasp of relief. Silence settled heavy. The outlaw let out a shaking breath. "You didn't have to stand up to him like that." "Yes," she said, "I did." He swallowed hard, eyes softening. "Then this marriage, it's real to you?" She looked at him, truly looked, and felt the weight of the night settle into something steadier. "It is now." Outside, the last echo of hooves faded into the dark, leaving the house wrapped in a strange calm. She shifted the baby in her arms and felt the child's small fingers grip her shirt as if anchoring her to the moment. The outlaw eased closer, his steps slow but certain, and the nearness of him stirred something she had buried for years. He whispered that he didn't deserve any of this, not her shield, not her name, not the quiet strength she offered without hesitation. She told him that deserving had nothing to do with survival. She told him that tonight they had chosen each other, and the choice meant they weren't alone anymore here. Smoke drifted through the broken yard, thin and white, curling around the splintered boards where the fight had ended. She stood with her hands still trembling, watching the outlaw breathe hard beside her, both of them caught between fear and something heavier. The sheriff was gone, the riders gone, the echo of gunfire fading into the wide dark. She felt the weight of everything they had done, all the choices that had pulled them into this place. He still held her arm like he wasn't sure he was allowed to let go. She whispered that he could release her now, but he didn't move. Instead he looked around the yard, eyes slow and haunted, as if expecting another rifle to rise from the shadows. She told him it was over. He said nothing, just breathed in the thick night like he needed proof. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough, saying he thought he had lost her back there. She answered that losing wasn't an option anymore. He told her he wasn't sure he deserved to survive. She told him that wasn't his choice to make. They walked toward the porch, their steps uneven, their bodies slowed by shock. She felt the pull of silence inside the house, a silence shaped by everything that had happened during the long week. He asked if she was hurt. She told him she'd live. He said he needed to hear her say it again. She told him he worried too much. He told her she hid too much. She said hiding kept her alive. He said living meant more than that. She didn't answer, not yet. Inside, the lamps burned low. She stepped around broken chairs and scattered shells. He said the place looked like a storm had torn through. She told him a storm had. He asked if she regretted any of it. She looked at him and said regret was a luxury they didn't get tonight. He sat heavily at the table, rubbing the back of his wrist where his blood had dried. She asked if he could still move his hand. He flexed it, wincing, saying he'd manage. She told him he always said that. He said it was usually true. He asked her what came next. She said Dawn would decide. He told her Dawn had never been kind to him. She told him kindness wasn't what they needed. He asked if she meant staying in this broken house. She said staying anywhere was a choice she hadn't had in years. He looked around the room, as if seeing it for the first time, seeing the quiet scars of her life. He asked if she wanted him gone when the danger passed. She told him she didn't know yet. He said that was fair. Outside, the last smoke drifted away across the fields. She walked out to the yard again, drawn to the quiet. He followed, slower, holding his ribs. She told him he didn't have to follow her every step. He said he wasn't sure she'd stay put if he didn't. She said she wasn't running anymore. He said he'd heard that from people who still ran. She shot him a look that shut him up. The air smelled like ash and cold earth. She said the world would come for them again. He told her they would face it together if she wanted that. She stared at him, the quiet pressing in, the weight of the week settling in her bones. She told him she didn't know what a future looked like after everything they had done. He said the future didn't care about clean hands, only about the truth they chose next. She asked why he stayed when he had the chance to run. He told her running had lost its meaning the second she pulled him from the dirt. She felt something steady move inside her, something she hadn't trusted in years. She said if he stayed, she stayed. He stepped closer, careful. He asked if she meant it. She nodded once. The morning wind rose faintly around them, carrying away the last smoke. Their story ended right there, held in a stubborn peace.